In this video, we're going to discuss the common kite sheet attachment methods and their downsides, and then show you my preferred system. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about kite sheets and attachments to the clew. Continuous kite sheets come in two basic forms. Either you run the sheets across the boat, through the blocks, and then take the tails forward and attach the clew, or you have a centre takeoff, then take the tails back through the blocks and tie a knot in the boat. Having a knot is personal preference. We like it because we can use the kite sheets as writing lines, but others feel it increases the risk of snagging. One of the first ways you'll get taught to attach sheets is a trusty bowline. Now, bowline as a knot, it's really strong under load, always quite easy to undo, it's quite easy to break the back of them. The downside of the bowline is that because they're so easy to come undone, if your sail's flogging like this, they come undone quite easily. The second downside to them, that's heavy, so in light winds it'll mean the sail doesn't set as well. It also means if you're putting this around the forestay on your boat, it doesn't flow around the forestay so well. Probably the next most popular is a luggage tag. You know, if you've been to the airport, you put your luggage tag on your suitcase. There's a little bit of a downside to this attachment method, and it's always pulling one side tight. And over a week sailing, this cow hitch will get really tight around the clew of the sail and can be quite difficult to undo. Final method, a double overhand knot. And again, this is just not nice. It's quite a bulky knot on the clew of the sail. And these knots over a week of sailing get really, really tight. So let's talk about some more kind of fancier splicing methods. This is actually the kite sheet I got with my new RS200 from RS Sailing. And quite nice here. They've taken a little dyneema tail past each leg of the tail, inside this double braid, and you might be able to see they put some stitching on it to stop this pulling out when it's flogging, and then this attaches to the clew of your sail just with a bowline. Bowlines are never trust if they're flogging lots, flogging that around a little bit and it's come undone, which isn't fantastic. The other thing I don't like about this is this length of dyneema creates quite a lot of slop in the sheeting system. So imagine my finger is the forestay, you're sheeting with this side, you've got control over the clew of the sail on a direct pull, but then you want to jibe, so you pull this sheet and you've got a good foot of rope that you have to pull before you get control over the kite sheet, which isn't that nice. This is, I can't remember what it's called, taper light, Spinnaker Sheets, something like that. It's got this really tight outer braid, which means it's quite stiff. Therefore, if it's down in the boat, it's quite easy to pick up, which is nice. What it does mean, though, is getting an extra strand of dyneema into it is really difficult, because it's such a tightly packed rope that you basically can't thread an extra strand of dyneema in. So what Rooster recommends you do is actually fish out the inner core. This red rope is the inner core, this red dyneema. You pull a loop out of that, milk the outer core back down so it's nice and flat. And then I think in the Rooster video they just did a bit of stitching. I've done a bit of stitching here as well. You can't really tell because it's a white fleck anyway. They say in the video, do a bit of stitching to stop it slipping, and then attach this to your sail with a cow's hitch, and voila. Now, I don't particularly like it without this seizing. The load just goes from the sheet you're sheeting on down a single strand of the dyneema and to this cow's hitch, which really bullets up this cow hitch and can make swapping the sheets over a little bit difficult. The other thing is, if it ever worked loose and slipped and you were only pulling on one side of the cow's hitch, you could end up pulling it uneven. What I have done though is put this seizing on the two strands of the inner core, Where this seizing, it transfers the load from one strand into both strands. You're now pulling on both strands of the cow hitch equally. This means it's less likely to get bulleted up. If you do buy this rooster rope and follow Rooster's technique, I would always recommend that you use this seizing. This method's quite nice. Again, you've got a really smooth inside of this sheet, which means as it goes around the forestay, it's nice and smooth. So it is a pretty decent method. There's not too much slop in the system when sheeting from one jibe to the other. The only real downside to this is that you've still got this outer core quite close to the clew of the spinnaker, and in light winds you want to make sure this is as light as possible. Okay, so here's my preferred method of attaching kite sheets. So first of all, the kite sheets are tapered. How much you taper will depend on your exact boat. Then here we just got a Brummel lock eye splice in the Dyneema. I'll put links to these splices in the description so you can check them out and do them yourselves. I don't want this video to be too long. And again, just a taper here from the outer core to just an inner core. Again, I'll post a link to how to do that taper, but it's not too difficult. Then the actual attachment to the clew of the sail, you have two options here. This is a soft shackle. Again, I've got a video on how to make these soft shackles. So yeah, first of all, you have the soft shackle method. And this is good if you have one kite sheet with no knot in the boat, in which case you'll want to thread the tails. So you'll have one continuous kite sheet, no knot, and you'll thread the tails through the spinnaker blocks, and then you'll attach going like this. Basically you run the soft shackle through the two eyes and then soft shackle them to the clew of the sail. But yeah, there's very little play. The rope's really light. Nothing can flog undone. There's no knots to come undone there. All really secure. If you want to keep a knot in the boat, you can use the Dyneema loop. Again, I'll put a link in the description of how to make one of these Dyneema loops. If you want to use the Dyneema loop, basically these two eye splices should go directly onto the Dyneema loop and then they're fixed there. And with this method, you'll have to have two separate tails. And to attach this to the sail, you cow hitch it on, like so. These Brummel locks splices will be attached there. So again, just nice lightweight, all tapered. This cow hitch is always loaded both strands, so it won't lock up too tight. And if you do this method, obviously you'll attach it to the clew first and then you'll run back either sheet into the boat and then knot them. So there you have it, my pro method for making kite sheets. Strong, light and easy to attach. Which attachment method do you use? If it's good and worth sharing, let us know in the comments below.